Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast. Today, I want to talk about how gay men can face any problem, developing resistance. And this is part one of a two-part podcast episode that I would like to share with you. Part one is about the traits of resilience. So whether it's something political or something happening in the news or something happening in current events that stresses you out, it could be all different kinds of things that happen in the news or at your job or in your family or in your relationship or in your health. Let's face it, stuff happens and we have to face it somehow. So there are all kinds of things that happen that are barriers or setbacks or losses. And when these things happen, we need to mobilize both in our thinking and in our behavior to cope with these situations, to fight back and get back to being on top, so to speak. We need to think about developing resilience. According to the American Psychological Association, resilience is the ability to adapt and grow from adversity, trauma, and other stress, whether from relationships, work, finances, politics, health challenges, family, things in the news, all kinds of things. Various authors have listed the traits of resilient people, including Susan Dunn, D-U-N-N, who wrote about the top 10 traits of resilient people. I'm drawing on her, and she was drawing on yet others. So there's kind of a discussion among therapists and coaches and other authors who talk about the art of developing resilience, even if you haven't developed it much before. I want to adapt some of these ideas specifically for gay men here, and then in the second part of this article, discuss how to act on developing resilience. Number one is reflect on your experiences. Historically, gay men are a resilient group, if we think about it. We went from having no rights and living rather hidden in earlier times to increasingly getting more and more legal rights, starting with Stonewall in 1969, and then through the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and even marriage equality. Think about these group experiences, or think about your own history. How have you dealt with hard times in the past? What did you do? Who helped you? What helped you? What kind of thinking helped you? And then how did those challenges ultimately pan out? You probably find that in your experience, things have worked out pretty well. Number two is be realistic. It's important to acknowledge hard times as such, a setback, a trauma, a loss, a disappointment, some kind of frustration. By recognizing the nature of the problem, then we can start to solve it. Maybe the problem is a very mainstream one that anyone could have, but for gay men, sometimes problems are related to gay community drama or being the victim of homophobia or discrimination from our broader society. But it's important to understand and validate that the challenge is real, the struggle is real, and you get to have those feelings and recognize your own frustration or disappointment. Number three is just that. Identify and express your feelings. What are you feeling about this situation? Is it more of a sad or an anxious, an angry, or scared feeling? Knowing your feelings and expressing them to someone, a friend, a colleague, a family member, a partner or spouse, or a therapist, helps to make emotional sense of what's going on. You're literally processing the emotions that neurobiologically rest in your right brain and then are processed out through language that is part of the left brain. There's a real neurological process that goes on that helps when we talk about what we're feeling. And sometimes gay men can feel isolated in their challenges because they feel no one in mainstream society really gets it in a gay male context. This is why so many guys seek me out as a gay men specialist psychotherapist for many years, 28 years now, because they feel like people just don't get it in the mainstream society, and it helps to have it put in a gay male context, which takes on just a slightly different hue from the mainstream public, straight public. Number 4 is know the time. Try not to be distracted by things of the past or anxiety about the future. Focus on what's going on right now, and not just how to react to it, but to calmly respond to it, which is more sober-minded and careful. One of my favorite New Age inspirational authors, Louise Hay, has said, "The point of power is in this moment." Ask yourself, what can I do, believe, or allow that would help myself in my situation right now? Number 5 is let yourself grieve. If you've had a loss, even a big one, a small one, an inconvenient one, remember that the only way out is through. You have to process your grief, acknowledge the hurt of what you're going through. Ironically, the more you allow yourself to acknowledge a loss and do the grieving process, the less time you'll have to spend grieving it. And everyone grieves or mourns a loss differently, and you get to do it in your own way without having to make apologies that, "Ooh, you're not doing grief right." However way you do grief is the way that you're doing it right. Number 6 is find meaning. Try to see beyond the current situation. Ask yourself how this particular time or challenge fits into the context of the life you're trying to lead. For the loss of a relationship, for example, this could be just one intimate relationship in a number of them that you'll have in a lifetime. There is more to your quality of life and its meaning than any one setback or loss or challenge. Number 7 is think creatively. If you're hit with a problem, don't fall down and stay down. Get back up and be creative with how you can cope adaptively and healthily. Try not to just emotionally and behaviorally shut down. I love the major cliche, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Experiencing a setback, instead of shutting down, try activating and being more motivated than ever. A political situation or some type of political crisis, even just having an illness or having a financial setback temporarily, are things that you can really take a creative approach. Louise Hay also said, "How can I take a positive approach to this?" Whenever you're faced with some kind of a challenging situation, step back, breathe, take a moment and say, "How can I take a positive approach to this?" And then see what happens to guide your thinking and your behavior. Number 8 is practice self-care. If you're going through a particularly hard time, that means there is an extra drain on your physical and emotional resources. Pay attention to the basics of your self-care of food, what you're eating, your clothing, what can you wear that makes you feel comfortable or confident, shelter, how can you surround yourself in a home or a place that feels comfortable and safe to you, your sleep, how can you use sleep to be rested, to face the challenges with a clear head. Personal supports from loved ones. Who are they and what do they mean to you? Exercise, no matter what it is that you find fun to exercise your body. And maybe even work. What can you do for your work to feel productive and proud of what you're doing? I've seen many of my clients keep themselves stable through a tough time by continuing to work, if at all possible, so that the steady routine stabilizes them in an otherwise challenging time. For example, years ago, I was still able to work during the time that I was undergoing daily radiation therapy for cancer, and the routine helped me to give me a sense of normalcy when I was otherwise dealing with health symptoms. Ask yourself what practicing self-care means for you. Sometimes it's eating comfort food. A little of that. You're not going to be, morbidly obese if you indulge in just a little bit of comfort food. Being entertained. What can you watch on TV or YouTube or Netflix or something like that is self-care? Ask yourself, when you have been feeling bad in the past and then you've done something to make yourself feel better, what did you do? What was the practicing self-care that worked for you in your own personal history? The chances are that what worked for you before will work for you again now. Number 9 is enlist help. You identify and contact, text, call, email, speak to, whatever. Contact the people you rely on, whom you know and accept you and support you as you are. Almost everyone has a core group of people to turn to in tough times, and if you don't have those, then this is something to work with a therapist so that you can cultivate an inner circle of people in your life or a family of choice. I think a system of supportive people drawn from a partner or spouse, family, friends, work colleagues, even neighbors can build a network of support. I think having friends who are both older, younger, the same, and different from you can also be helpful so that you get support from several different perspectives, and that can be enlightening. And number 10 of these traits is hire professionals. While support from well-meaning family and friends can be great, they sometimes lack the specific professional skills that you need to resolve a problem. If you're sick with something, they can give you general comfort, but you would need a healthcare professional to really address the issue, oftentimes a specialist or an expert in that area. The same with therapy and coaching. Beyond what friends could say, therapists are trained at the graduate level for many years specifically in identifying, assessing, and intervening with all kinds of human problems. Chances are when you bring your problem to a therapist, they've seen people with similar problems in the past. Sometimes, as in my case of working with gay men in therapy and coaching for 28 years, many, many times, it's hard to find a problem that hasn't been done before. And when you speak with someone who has helped people with these same problems before, they can talk to you and consult about how people generally solve this kind of problem in the past. It might be a new problem for you, but it's not a new problem in the context of the existence of the world, even for gay men. And professionals can help you to learn how others have resolved similar problems in the past, and they can help you form a strategy, a behavioral and way of thinking and behaving that forms a very specific strategy step by step of how you can get back on track, and helping you to identify the immediate and the short-term and the long-term actions that are going to help you become a more skilled and resilient person over time. So those are the traits, and we'll come back to a second part of this in another episode. But think about these traits. Let's review them for you now. Number 1 was reflect on your experiences. Number 2 was be realistic and just acknowledge what's happening. Number 3 is identify and express your feelings, because there's a real neurobiological benefit to that. Number 4 is know the time. Keep yourself focused in the present, because that'll feel empowering. Number 5 is let yourself grieve if you're having loss. It's important to allow yourself to have that process and just acknowledge that something really sucks about this situation. Number 6 is find meaning. In the context of your whole life, there's meaning in everything we experience. Number 7 is think creatively. Open your mind and say, what if? What could I do? What if I did this? What if I did that? Number 8 is practice self-care, probably more so than you think you need to. Number 9 is enlist help of your personal social support system. And number 10 is hire professionals who have the professional expertise to talk about the specific kind of problem that you have. That's what professionals are trained to do. While you were off studying something else in high school or college or in your job training, therapists and doctors and coaches and nurses and other types of helping professionals, they were off studying what they needed. And even if you are in a helping field, sometimes you still need to hire professionals to help you because you're in the role of recipient and not in the role of provider. So as always, ratings, comments, reviews, questions are always welcome in the comment sections of wherever you find your podcast. But the best way to reach me, if you would like to, is probably to text me. That's my favorite, because I'm sometimes in noisy places or I'm just busy to take phone calls. So if you want to text me, if you want to learn more about my therapy and coaching services, wherever you are, either in person in my office in Los Angeles or remotely all over the country or all over the world, call or text 310-339-5778. So 310-339-5778. Or you can email me, ken@gaytherapyla.com, or just visit the gaytherapyla.com website, and there's a little box that will pop up whether you want it to or not, and you can ask a question through the pop-up chat box. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.